Welcome to the channel Learn with Danish. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. Hi guys. Today the video is about Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness is a novel that's written by Joseph Conrad, and in the video that I did just before this, we saw the analysis of the central character called Kurds, who happens to go to the center of Africa and in order to civilize these African people, in turn turns out to be savage. A paradoxical statement that's made inside this novel. The text Heart of Darkness is covered into 3 parts. In this video, I would be talking about the first part of the text Heart of Darkness. The novella starts off with an unnamed narrator. We have an unnamed narrator that is seen in the novel. And the setting is evening. The sun is about to set. There are 5 people on the deck of a ship called Nelly. And the ship is called Nelly, and it is anchored in the mouth of Thames. Thames is a river in England. The narrator describes the scene and each person present in the deck. All are associated with the bond of the sea, and you see that all the characters on the deck of the ship are reminded of the knights and errands and soldiers who had fought for the country. We see that these 5 people that are on board the ship is looking through the Thames River. And then the unnamed narrator goes on to describe each one of the members here. The first one that the narrator describes is the director of the companies. He is the captain and the host, and he is looking through the Thames River, and he is being referred to as a pilot. Then the next one is the lawyer, who is given the only cushion deck because he has, according to the narrator, many years of virtue. The accountant is a third person that carries a pack of dominoes, and he's playing with the pack of dominoes in an architectural manner, building blocks with that domino pieces. The fourth one is Christopher Marlowe, who is a freshwater sailor, and he's the only person that's mentioned by name among these 5 people that's sitting on the board. And he sits cross-legged at the right side of the deck. Marlowe was described as a freshwater sailor who still has connection with the sea. We see that he is a wanderer. That's what narrator says. He's not up to his class, because seamen usually sits at home, according to the unnamed narrator. He is a wanderer, so he doesn't fit to his class, according to the narrator. But it is Marlowe who actually narrates the rest of the part of Heart of Darkness. The narrator says that it is for him, the ship is the home and the sea is his country. We see that the 5 people are sitting on the deck without saying anything to others. Means simply, silently, just gazing through the waves of the Thames River. And they are thinking about the errant knights and soldiers who had crossed this Thames to conquer the land of Britain. We see that it is only Marlowe who ultimately breaks the silence. He talks about the earlier Roman experience of conquering the British land. That is, he talks about Romans who have come to British, just like the Britishers had gone to different countries in the world and developed their colonies and established their colonies. Similarly, Romans were the people who came to British and established their empire. He's talking about that. He talks about their difficulty in handling the then British savages. For Romans, Britishers was then considered to be savages, just like it was considered by the Britishers Africans now. He then talks of his sole experience as a freshwater sailor. And this is when Marlowe breaks the silence and keeps on talking, because he's the one who actually narrates the rest of the part of the story of Heart of Darkness. He remembers that he seeks a job in a Belgium trading company, and he seeks the help of his aunt. It was through his aunt that Marlowe happens to get a job in a Belgian trading company. That's the picture of Africa, the Congo River there. So we see that Joseph Conrad also was a seaman, and similarly we see that Marlowe is also talking about his first experience as a seaman. He gets this job basically due to his aunt's recommendations. After getting the job, Marlowe travels through the English Channel to Brussels, where he signs the contract agreement. Brussels is in Belgium, and we see that Belgium was considered to be in the 1880s, which happened to be ruled by Leopold II, and King Leopold II was notorious for his brutal orders and commands. So we see that Marlowe is also going to Brussels to sign his contract agreement. The place reminded him, that is, Brussels reminded him of whited sepulchre, and here there is a referring to the book of Matthew in the New Testament, and it concerns hypocrisy. Whited sepulchre is often concerned with hypocrisy. So Belgium king actually rhetorically talks about the intention of civilizing the Africans, but in turn they torture and they actually make these Africans work to the hardest core. So he meets two women in the company outskirts, company headquarters in Brussels, who are knitting black wool. Now, coming to the point of woman characters in Joseph Conrad's work, they are basically naive woman characters who doesn't have a very big role to play. He doesn't make use of these woman characters as such. Here also there are just two woman characters who are not even saying anything. They are just showing him the way, that's it. One woman actually admits him to the room, and it is in this room that he at first sees the map of Africa. Now the map of Africa is really interesting here, because what I have over here is, this is not the map of Africa that Marlowe might have seen. His map of Africa contained lots of colors, and these colors indicated different colonies. So in short, Africa was a continent that was filled with different kinds of colonies, like France, Belgium, British, Portugal. All these colonies established their colonies in this continent. So Africa was absolutely looted. Their resources, their labor force, everything was looted by the colonist people. We see that he gets into the room and then he signs the contract. After signing the contract, he is directed towards a doctor who happens to check him before he boards his steamer. And it is before meeting doctor that he is told about his predecessor, Fresleven. Now, Fresleven is a similar sailor like Marlowe, who happens to be killed by the native African people over the scuffle of hens. The exact story of the hens is not conveyed in the novella, See, as you can see that native African people scuffle over very silly things. The doctor takes the measurement of Marlowe's skull, and he also says that he doesn't get to see skulls after they go to Africa. That is, usually people who go to Africa from Europe usually gets killed. Marlowe says goodbye to his aunt, and the aunt, on the other hand, hopes that her nephew will civilize the savages during his service to the company. She says that he needs to wean those ignorant millions from their horrid ways. So she has the belief of that white man's burden. Marlowe boards the French steamer as if he is setting off to the center of the earth. So on the whole, Marlowe has a very eerie feeling about his journey into the darkest side of Africa. First thing is related to his predecessor Fresleven, who is actually killed for no reason basically. Then we have the doctor who is actually telling him that you should focus on your inside rather than the outside, and the skull measurement and the skull thing that I had recently told. Then the aunt who actually warns and who actually tells her nephew that it is the duty of her nephew to civilize those horrid African people. When the steamer goes, it stops at many stations in order to take up people inside the boat. And Marlowe is disturbed by many sights. There are many sights as he goes into the mouth of Congo. There is Europeans a futile way of addressing Africans by shelling into uninhabited forests. We see that French army actually shells off into the forest for no reason, uninhabited forests. The flabby, pretending, weak-eyed devil of a rapacious and pitiless folly is the central image with which Marlowe characterizes the behavior of the colonist, and this image is basically seen throughout the novel. The flabby, pretending, weak-eyed devil of a rapacious and pitiless folly. And when he reaches the mouth of the river Congo, he actually boards another ship which reaches the company station, and we see that the company station is full of disrepair. That is, it is almost going to fall off. And we see that there are lots of African prisoners who are working day and night in the camp stations, and he offers a biscuit. We see that Marlowe offers biscuits to these prisoners, but they don't actually eat those biscuits from these white people. He meets the company chief accountant, and it is the chief accountant that tells about Mr. Kurtz, a first-class agent from the outer station who has the highest number of ivory business, who contributes the maximum number of ivory up from the outer station, gaining a great deal of respect from the company authorities. Mr. Kurtz, who was actually sent to civilize the African natives. Marlowe travels for 200 miles with a caravan of 60 men. After 15 days, he arrives at the central station and finds his steamer has sunk. Marlowe thinks that this act may be intentional, and we see that the manager praises Kurtz. Manager of the central station praises Kurtz. That praises are actually just baffled words. He's not meaning anything at heart, because Kurtz actually strikes. Kurtz is a person who is seen as an opponent for the manager. So it took him 3 months to repair his boat, and Marlowe notices the painting That is the first time that he gets to know what Kurt's personality is all about in great detail. He actually sees a painting of Kurt's. We might have gone through that painting in the earlier video. It is a painting of a blindfolded woman who is leading a torch into a blind or dark area. The El Dorado expedition comes in. That is also another point to be noted. The El Dorado expedition, a group of white men arrives at the central station. This is the picture of Kurtz, and we see that ivory is echoed through the airs of the camp. That is, ivory is the main business that the Belgian trading company is doing. Human voices are hurled against the wilderness, and the events of this section moves Marlowe gets closer to the mysterious Kurtz. With this, we come to the end of part 1 of Heart of Darkness. I hope you have understood this particular section, and hope this video is useful to you guys. We would be coming up with part 2 of The Heart of Darkness in the next video. Till then, it's me, Danish, signing off. Learn with Danish.